and welcome to Paxton Road TV. This is Talking Points, and today we are talking about that interview with Daniel Levy, and I'm joined in the house by some super special guests. As always, we have Mr. K, we have Brian at Tottenham Away, and we have Bob from SUBSRCRIBE TV, should I say. Gentlemen, how are we doing? We all good?
All good, all good.
All hay fevered up, I believe.
Yeah, so again, just want to apologise to people out there. I was sweating a bit, my eyes are going, but the show must go on, as it always says. Obviously, we've had time to digest the interview that came out. A lot of people are saying it's propaganda, a little bit of personal, you know what I mean? It's Daniel Levy doing his normal Daniel Levy things and shedding himself in the best of light. But there were some very interesting points that obviously came up. Obviously, for copyright reasons, we won't be playing the interview. But what we are going to do is look through some of the comments, each of them individually, with regards to different topics. And we will have a bit of a discussion. So, gentlemen, let me just put up the banner. And then the first point. So the first thing that I'm going to put up, and I'm going to put the slide up, and we can talk about Fabio. Again, I'm going to start again. Fabio Paratici.
That's it.
That's right, hey.
Yeah.
Paratici. Okay.
Paratici.
Thank you very much, Mr. K. That's the Italian in you coming out there, not in me. So Paratici has now been, officially starts on July the 1st. And here's an excerpt of what Daniel Levy had to say about that appointment. So I'll just take off these banners so that everybody at home can actually see everything on screen. I've known Fabio for a number of years, obviously from Juventus. We had a number of discussions over the years, and he was a very tough negotiator. He's very knowledgeable, and I've got a lot of admiration for him. And I think he will be a great addition to our management team. Everything to do with the football inside of the club, he will have responsibility for. Obviously, recruitment is one element. He will be working closely with Steve Hitchin, all the analysts, and all the scouting department. Juventus have been a highly successful club, and he's been a major part of that. And hopefully, some of that will rub off on Tottenham Hotspur. Gentlemen, what do we think of that? Mr. K, I'll start with you firstly. Your thoughts on what his comments were regarding Fabio Paratici, whatever you want to call him. Call him whatever. I'm just going to call him Fabio. It's easier.
Well, I think as Chairman Levy is that he likes to get involved with pretty much everything in terms of transfers and deals. So at most points, whenever they've dealt with Juventus in any form of fashion or gone out there looking for a player or even trying to sell one, he's had to have come across Paratici. So I think to a certain degree, there is a knowledge of one of the other. In order for Levy to put that statement out, he's probably buttering him up. Of course, he has to do that because he's introducing somebody that he's going to recommend, like Mourinho. I think this is. Look, at the end of the day, everybody was screaming out for, somebody to come in and, intersect between footballing matters and General Levy. So I think to a certain degree, regardless of who this person is that's come in, Levy has to let his fingers off a little bit in order for that to happen. We all know that's not really behind the scenes what's going to happen, but we can only hope, right?
Yeah, again, I was one of the ones who advocated that we needed to have changes. There definitely needed to be a director of football. One has been appointed. There's a lot of talk that a lot of people saw Campos could have been the first choice, or even Ranić could have been somebody better off in terms of, align more to Tottenham. However, one has to say that Fabio, the success he's got at Juventus cannot be understated. I know different club, different styles of play and all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. However, if that can be transferred, some of that into what we do at Spurs, then surely we're onto a little bit of a winner. What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
So sorry about that. We had a delivery come out to get. So when it comes to Fabio and Daniel saying he's known him for a few years, I've known my local butcher for a few years. What difference does that make? They've met twice at Juventus when we got him in the Champions League and when we had Dybala or the transfer rumour, and we all know what happened there. Listen, I think Fabio's going to be is fantastic at his job, but trying to get players to Juventus and selling Juventus is a lot easier than selling Tottenham. Juventus, you can say you're guaranteed Champions League, you're guaranteed to be challenging for the title. It's a lot easier. And also, he spends big money. And we all know, whether you feel like the way I do about him or you leave in, he's not going to spend the money that that Juventus do. When it comes to the weirdest thing about this is the whole Steve Hitchen thing. When Steve Hitchen is to be working alongside him now, if he does give full responsibility to him, how's that going to make Steve Hitchen feel when he went for Skriniar, when he went for this one and that one and it didn't happen? I don't see how these two can work together. I think it's going to be like Houllier and Roy Evans. It'll be a partnership for a few months, won't work, it'll be diluted. I think the sporting director, I think it's the right move to get a director of football, but we should have gone for someone like a Louis Campos, who finds rough gems. Like I said to you on your show, we keep looking for lumps of coal to turn them into diamonds. And Peratucci or Fabio, I'm going to stick like you, Sam.
Say to Fabio, so, that's all I'm saying.
Fabio will buy the diamonds, where Luis Campos finds the lumps of coal and turns them into diamonds. So I think we've missed a turn there, but I still think that Fabio is a human shield for Levy. But we will see. We will see.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of time will tell sort of aspect to this. But what's your thoughts on this director of football?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that Levy said about Fabio Parmigiano was, when he said all footballing decisions will be left to Fabio, and it's kind of like Brian's just said, he's going to be there as a shield. He's going to take all the crap if some of the transfers don't work out. And let's be honest, not every single transfer is not the kind of person that every transfer has worked out. There has been some flops, like any person, but I think he's brought him in just to in hope that Fabio Parachute takes some of the flack.
What did you say? What did you say on that? Wow, that was
yeah. What? Yeah. Fabio Paramisushi comes in and takes all the flack that Levy's obviously going to get. So hence the reason Fabio Paragraphy has come in, and he's going to take or basically take the limelight off Levy, or he's hoping he ain't going to work.
So what I would say,
a bit more wise to it.
I have to say, sorry, Sam, just very quickly, the last comment you brought up from Mark Woodland, bang on the money. Gina's coming out, fair play, the first one to do it. I think, honestly, and he's in the media spotlight. So there's been a lot of people wanting the Spurs players to come out. Yeah, and maybe they have their links to the club and they don't want to rain on the parade or whatever. But big up Jermaine Genius for coming out and doing it. Hopefully more will follow.
Jermaine Genius has been very critical, and as I said, I think again he's clearly a Spurs fan, and every time I've watched him, I like how he comes across. Obviously, his punditry is really good, but he's honest. He's very honest in his opinion, and that can only be a good thing. There's the fact that he's obviously a high-profile person within the media side of things. That's obviously going to have an effect on persons at the club. What I would say then is if things go right, is it likely that we're going to have to say that it's all down to Paratici, Fabio, or will Levy get some of the glory if things go according to plan? What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
No, Levy, 20 years too late, mate. If you'd back directors of football or sporting directors or people like Paul Mitchell back in the time when you had your chance, then you might have got some of the praise. But to do it 20 years later, after the Super League, after Ryan Mason, after the second, there's just too much water under the bridge. If he lets go, which I highly doubt he will, we will see. But let's see when the type of players we bring in, if they're established or on the cheap, or also with Paratici or Fabio. Let's just say Fabio for crying out loud. Let's see if the deals get done quick. No mucking about, no bartering. Just get the deals done. Like I said, with Levy has got to do so much. I've said for me to even begin to think about even giving him a little bit of praise, I want to see 3 years of constant transfer windows where we get our targets. Not everyone, because I understand you don't get every target every time, but consistent 3 years of both windows of getting the players that we wanted. Then I might just think.
But Sam, do you know any other club who's made a bigger deal at the moment? He's been made a bigger deal than Fonseca. The amount of attention there's on Fabio Paratofu is pretty incredible, and I don't know any other club who's given that sort of attention to a director of football.
I definitely agree, and I think a lot of that has to do with maybe a bit of deflection tactics. I honestly think there is some deflection tactics, obviously, in it. Looking at the interviews, very polished, and I said that on the Tottenham away show yesterday. Very polished,
looking slick, isn't he? Looking slick,
very, very, very slick. You know, he's not gonna. And I was saying that he needed to be interviewed by a journalist of some kind who's gonna maybe point a little bit more directed questions to get something more. Because let's face it. The guy who's interviewing him is a Spurs employee. He's not going to ask him anything other than what he's been told to do. So it's a little bit of we can probably take that. However, what I will say is, I think he has taken a lot of criticism, and I think he's now reacting to that. Again, Mr. K, what sort of timescale do we give this Paratici Fabio appointment before we start to make any sort of deals about it's going right or it's going wrong? How long is your timescale on this?
Oh, I've gone out, mate. I've suddenly gone out. I'm about to come back in again.
Okay.
Unless you guys can hear me or not?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, mate.
Okay, you can hear me. All right, brilliant. All right, basically, for me, right, I believe that anybody who has any vested interest, a hobby, habit in football would do a better job than Levy right now. And that's been a proven factor. When everyone's been screaming out for defenders, he's been getting wingers. When everyone's been screaming out for strikers, he's been picking up midfield players. You know, he's been constantly doing the opposite to what everybody wants him to do. Yeah. And then screaming and moaning about the fact that he spent a lot of money when his net spend isn't that much every single year. All you got to do is look at the figures. And some of that net spending that he's done has been spread over like 5-6 years. So like the Musa Sissoko, the Lo Celso deal, there's been numerous.
France just
so anyone with an interest in football that comes in my book, is going to do a darn sight better job than him. So with with Paolo Paratici.
Fabio, not Paolo. Fabio, you're crossing names now. You're bloody throwing any name in there. Fabio.
Mark.
Okay, is it mine?
Sorry, Mr. K. Continue.
Okay, right. So the way I look at it is that at least he's been in another club and he's been exposed to how machinery works when it comes to footballing matters. And I think that type of experience will hold him in good stead when he walks into Tottenham. He may not have the lure of Juventus or Champions League at this current moment in time, but he has the history to look back onto and say the last 6-7 years we have been in Champions League. We've even been in a final 2 years ago. He can sell the fact that we have an amazing stadium, we have world-class training facilities, that we're in the Premier League, and any footballer coming into the Premier League is going to get worldwide recognition, and their image rights are going to be improved. So he has definitely got pulling power. But the interesting thing for me is that now we have an alternative pair of eyes that has been looking at certain scouting networks, because all we've been getting so far is Hitchin and Levy. Hitchin goes out there and does his best. Originally that's what he was, just a scout. But Levy gets phone calls from people. They say, listen, man, like this guy's like, going to do this and this guy's going to do that. And that's how he acts behind Hitchin's back.
So do we feel that Steve Hitchin's got a future? Or do you think he's a man on shaky ground? What's your thoughts, Bob?
See, Brian will know this, and I think Mr. K will know this as well to an extent. I think Hitchin's actually been given a hard deal, really. By the way, France are up 1-0, a Germany own goal. I think Hitchin's probably been harshly treated. I've said before, he's, in my eyes, he's done his bit. He's brought the players to the table. He's sold Tottenham Hotspur to the players, and it's a fact the likes of Grealish and Dybala and Skriniar were all willing to put pen to paper. It literally fell down when Levy started negotiating, and we've seen it. He's doing it with managers now. Well, he has done it with managers now, i.e. Conte. So I hope he has, and I don't think he's in a position where he should be sacked or moved on. I just hope he's got a role within the club, and he's probably relieved, not having to deal directly with Levy. He's probably looking at a Paratide and thinking, there you go, mate, off you go.
There is a lot that Fabio is going to have to sort out if he's going to be made responsible for all these things.
Yeah.
So that, again, it's always that cliche. Time will tell. I'm gonna look to see what happens during this summer transfer window. Not to say we have to get everything right in one transfer window, but I want to see the sort of the aim. What are we aiming for? Who are we going for? The type of players. Is it going to be most of the Juventus's OAPs, or are we going to literally be looking at what is the actual plan? Again, I'm not quite sure if Spurs will come out and say if there's going to be a plan as such. But we'll get on to the next point. Welcome, by the way, Mike.
Sorry, Sam. Just to finish off there, I think the main point this summer is for him to get as many of the deadwood out as possible, because it doesn't matter who we bring in. If they don't get the deadwood out, they're just going to get their claws into him, and just the rot will start. So I'm more inclined to think it's more important to get the deadwood out and bring a couple in, rather than I'd rather get 4 out and 2 in rather than the other way round, so to speak.
Yeah, and Sam, would you consider Ronaldo to be a Juventus OAP? He's getting old, isn't he?
He's one of them ones. I'll take it, even if he was.
I'll take him. I'll give him a go.
I'll take him at 65. If he was 65, he'd come to Spurs. Go on, Mike.
Even if he's in his late 30s, you'd still take a punt of it, especially when he watched twice tonight, didn't he? I mean, the guy's I'd take him at 40. I just wouldn't.
Class.
He's definitely different gear. Right, let's move on. So the next point we're going to look at is Daniel Levy on the head coach. Again, I'll just put up a little bit of what he says. So I'm going to do this. On the head coach, what's been interesting, I mean, I must have had about 30 different names from fans. Some of the individuals that have been mentioned in the media as apparently rejecting us, we haven't even spoken to. I don't want to comment on any one individual. Lots of things get reported, and all I would say to you is that until we make something official, that's the only things that fans should believe in. It's very difficult to actually believe that when we've heard so many rumours that 99% Fonseca's deal's done, blah, 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 blah. So, again, maybe a bit of deflection tactics to say until it's actually appointed, maybe there's maybe there's things happening behind the scenes that we don't quite know about. Or is it just about a bit of timing? Mike, what's your thoughts on what he said about the head coach?
I think he was aiming at that Brian.
He's aimed a lot of this at me, Mike.
I think with all the videos that Brian sent him,
he's definitely watched some of them,
and it's come from all the different channels that he's been on. I reckon that was probably aimed at Brian to try and get a bit of 5 minutes rest from him. But in all seriousness, I think it's obvious that he knows how are we pronouncing his name, by the way. Are we casting it as Paratici or
Fabio?
Paramigogo.
Let's leave Fabio. We're on to Fonseca anyway. The Font. Paolo the Font.
I'll call him Fabio. It's obvious that it's obvious that they know each other. They've got a history, etc. I think very much throughout the whole this it was from what I understand, it was a 6 minute. Well, from what I saw, it was a 6 minute video. I think he said what he said all the right things, hasn't he? It's obviously been orchestrated to put Levy in a good space and try and sort of win back some support, etc. But I'm open-minded about the whole thing. I honestly am, from Paratici down to Fonseca.
But what I would say is, Mike, just a quick question on that. Just because we haven't had the official announcement yet with regards to Fonseca, we still haven't had official announcement. Is this down to them just having a bit of time so they can make it into the press or whatever it is and blah, blah, blah? Or is there still some sort of things going off behind the scenes that there's got
to be more to it that we're not aware of. I mean, surely they said that it was 99% over the line, didn't they? So how long does it take for 1% to get over that additional line?
A very long time.
There's got to be more to it. There's got to be more to it.
I don't think it's
how
coming.
many days has it been so far? How many days has it been so far since we had a manager?
Monday would have been 56. So today's 57.
56 days, right. So if we're supposed to just listen to Levy when he talks about what he talks about and he tells us when we're supposed to know it, are we not allowed to think for ourselves and say, hold on a second, is this acceptable? I mean, this is like, has any other club, forget about top 6, has any other club in the top 10 gone through this? I mean, are we trying to set new records or something in the Premier League?
I think, Mr. K, from my opinion, as long as the appointment is the right appointment in the long run, and it gets us back to giving us an identity in terms of how we were used to seeing Tottenham play football, then I think that's, from my end, that's half the battle. We're getting our identity back as a team, as a club, in terms of getting that attacking football that we all like to see and we've all been used to seeing over the years. I think we lost our identity as a footballing team under Mourinho, under Mason, etc. And I don't expect Tottenham to...
Wait, 1 second, Mike. Hold on a second.
Go on.
Did we or did we not go for Conte?
I don't think we did.
Right. So Levy at no
that's
time
my only
whatsoever.
opinion. That's my opinion, though. That's just my opinion.
No, but my point is this, right? Yeah, is that pretty much the whole world, right? Yeah, saw Conte and his gang, right? Yeah, having a chat with Levy and Crow. I mean, this is reported absolutely everywhere. I don't think that this is a made-up thing, because Sky got it, BBC got it. So we did speak to Conte about the managership. As far as whatever we know about this world, this is a fact as well. So this one particular fact is, does Conte bring with him the style or the footballing way that we at Spurs think is the Spurs way?
I think the frustration...
then we're lucky that Conte walked away.
But what the frustration is, I think what the frustration is, cheers, M. Takasa, I say, yes, I'm rocking it. I think the frustration is, even if they didn't speak to Conte and Poch, the fact there was such a big hullabaloo in the media, it's at the forefront. We're doing streams, you guys doing streams, we're all talking about it. The fact it was so much at the forefront of everybody's chat, only Spurs would let it go that far. Anybody, if there was any other club who were so attached to a manager, it'd be there. There'd be the fact was there was so many, names coming out left, right, and centre. I found it embarrassing, but suddenly Ten Hag was favourite, then Poch was favourite, then Conte was favourite. Oh no, Poch is favourite again. Ten Hag is favourite, and it's not just us fans sitting in a pub or on the stream talking about it. These were the likes of the BBC, Sky, and and that's what the frustration was. All very well getting the likes of Paramatica in, but we need a manager, don't we? And it's just the fact that we're getting associated with so many managers. I honestly, there's a thing inside me that I don't think we're going to get Fonseca as well.
So do you believe, I'm going to ask a quick question, you can answer this, Brian, if you want to. Do you believe that, because I looked at the betting when it was Conte, at one point it was 12-1 on. That's usually to suggest that it's a done deal. When you get that low in the betting, it's a done deal. So something happened where, it's transpired that maybe there was not enough funding there for the purchases of players, blah, blah, whatever it was. But to get so far into that deal or talk, shall we say, I don't know how extensive these talks were, because I was saying to Mike earlier in another previous stream, the first thing I'd be asking if I was Conte, how much money you got to spend? That's the first question. Do you know what I mean? Everybody knows what Conte's like as a manager. Everybody knows what he was doing at Juventus and wherever he's been. He spent oodles of money. The fact that he would even be speaking to Spurs to think that we're going to spend oodles of money, and we'll come on to what Daniel had to say about finances later. I don't even know if it even got that far. I don't know how it's got to the point where it was like 5 days in and it was almost a done deal. I don't know how it got to that, because the first question
Sam, do you remember William Hill stopped betting, right, at one stage or another, taking bets for the manager for Spurs. Now that happened when Poch's name was thrown in the hat, right? So pretty much I think when Conte's name came in as well, so this betting idea, this 12-1, all this type of malarkey, right? Yeah. When it comes to betting against Levy, no. I'm walking out the door. I'll be safer.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. We did have the meeting with Conte. We blatantly did. It's like Bob, for instance, works in the car industry. If you go into a car showroom and there's a Lamborghini there, you're going to sit in it. You're going to see what it's like to feel like to sit in a Lamborghini. You're not going to buy it. That's what we did. Season ticket renewal was coming up. Let's have a meeting. Let's big it up. People renew, and then let's pull out. That's exactly what happened. And as in regards to the 30 managers, I finally worked out what DNA stands for, the Tottenham DNA. It's all the managers that have do not answer when Levy calls. Because that's what happens.
Hey, I'll tell you what, there's some one-liners coming out from you and Bob tonight. You've got some proper one-liners today.
Mate, when it comes to this subject, I have a host of them, mate. But that's what happens, mate. Listen, if we'd gone for Fonseca at the beginning, who knows how we would have felt.
Exactly.
But we got sold a pipe dream of Ten Hag, who perfectly fits the mould of the club, brings through youngsters, plays an attacking style of football, wins, and continues to bring through youth. Yes, they spend a bit, but their whole mantra is let's bring through youth. Let's bring through youth. What have we got at the moment? Youth. It made sense to get him. No, won't get him. Then the whole Poch thing was to try and win people over. I saw through it, as did Danny Kiriakou. That fell apart. The Conte one, he just showed for 3 million. We've let go of Gazaniga and Rose. There's your 3 million. There's your 3 million. Don't buy a golf course. There's your 3 million.
I personally don't think it was down to just the wages and the backs. I think it was down to how much money he's going to be able to spend. If I'm honest with you, I don't believe it's as you said. There was talks come out from Conte to say the ambition of the club. He wants to spend money. Now he's obviously a world-class winner. If he had come into Spurs, you would expect that we would have to match his ambitions. What was you going to say, Mike, on that? Sorry,
I was just going to say he's a world-class winner as such, but he only does that with hundreds of millions of pounds, doesn't he? Every club he's been at, he has to spend bucket loads of money. So I don't know. I think he comes at a cost. And would he be the right fit for? We've mentioned this before in this stream and previous streams. Would he be the right fit for Spurs? Would it be another case of would we have a talented youth academy, players like your Scarlets, your Harvey Whites, Alfie Devines, etc., who would be there or thereabouts, waiting to come into that first team fold, but never get there because Conte doesn't believe in youth, and what do we do with them? Do we loan them out? Do we sell them?
Tell the truth, Mike. I think the whole thing, it weren't staff, it weren't money. I think the whole thing fell apart with Harry Kane stays. And if Harry Kane doesn't stay, I get 150 million to buy the striker I want, even if it costs us 100 million. And then Levy was like, I don't think so, because I'm pocketing a lot of that. If you're going to have Conte was probably the one manager where you could honestly sit down and say, Harry Kane might have said, oh, wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Maybe one more year. Now, if we've got Conte, don't get me wrong, I didn't think we were going to win the league next year, but I thought we'd severely challenge for the Champions League. Severely. And he would get the deadwood out. Or he would certainly have the deadwood away from the squad. That's what we need at the moment. We need a disciplinary, not like Jose, a current one, to come in and cut this deadwood apart. Whether it's go train with the youth like Danny Rose did, or I'm selling them at the first offer just to get them out, and then we'll start again.
But that brought about a lot of turmoil within the club, because we all know Conte's person. I know that.
I'll be back in 1 minute, guys. Just need to go to the bathroom.
I know 100% what Conte's like. I've seen a few little videos of him. He don't mess about. When it comes to that personal side, he's very, very fiery. It would cause so much problems for some of these players there. And we've seen a lot of them are quite flaky. We've got some flaky players in our squad who at the drop of a hat just decide that they're not going to play for the team or play for themselves, whatever it is. So,
Sam, coming back to your original question, right? Yeah, regarding the head coach. We might get Fonseca. He hasn't signed on the dotted line, but more or less, it's been predicted to be all there, as Mike was saying, 12-1. The thing is that by now, I'm sure a lot of people have been scouring YouTube and everywhere else across the internet to find out more about this Fonseca geezer. Now, without doubt, the guy has got an attacking style of football, and that matches what we want at Spurs. I think Mike is right on the button when he says that if you just step back away from the fiasco that's happened for the 50-plus old days, and from what's happened before as well, with Mourinho coming in, who certainly didn't suit the Tottenham way. Since Poch left, who's been there that's been able to offer us this? This man might do that with combination with this particular general manager of football. So I think in that regard, if you just step back from everything, I think Micah has absolutely a point. It's going in the right direction of what we as Spurs fans really want. It's coming at a cost of us having to travel through this journey while Levy fumbles around trying to get the decision done.
Yeah, and you need to. I think all Tottenham fans, regardless of opinions on the board or manager, etc. I think first and foremost, all Tottenham fans just want to see a positive change within the club on the playing side, i.e., if it is Fonseca that comes in, or whether it's whoever it might be that comes in. First and foremost, the first positive change that I would see in my opinion, would be players that are the dead wood that need to that are a priority leave the club, and that would be the first and foremost in terms of positivity that I would see. If the manager comes in, if it is Fonseca, if he comes in and says, right, these are the first 5 players I'm getting rid of out of this club, to me that's a positive step in the right direction. And then in pre-season we would find out, and we will see what his style of play, his philosophy is going forward, and we'll know pretty much what to expect in terms of that style of play.
I think majority of us will back him. I can speak for myself. I'll back Fonseca. I said this on a stream. I'll back him, and I want him to go down as the best manager we've ever had. But one thing I'm not going to do is suppress my disappointment and the fact that he's come in after being led down the garden path with the likes of Poch and Conte for a couple of weeks. So, I'm allowed to say, all very well getting excited for that, bringing in Paramaguli and then bringing in, a manager who's totally nowhere near. You Google Conte and what comes up on YouTube, Conte, what comes up, Conte wins title with Chelsea. Conte wins title with Italy. You put Poch in the final against Liverpool, Ajax. You put in Fonseca, 6 substitutes, incorrect substitutes, playing. That is a fact. You do that, and it's all.
What I will say about
he's not afraid of making a substitute, though, is it?
What I will say, of all the managers, apart from Conte, he's the most successful one. He's done the double 3 times in a row at Shakhtar. Now, I've obviously got to temper that with it's at Shakhtar Donetsk, but that's still no mean feat. He's more decorated than Ten Hag, more decorated than Poch. So I'm of the opinion that we've got to give this guy a chance. His football style.
We've got no option, though, have we?
Sam, do you know what it is as well? If you look at it, when we got Christian Gross in, everyone was like, "Who the hell is he?" Whatever, but we weren't linked with big name managers, so it was like, okay, he's the manager. When Pochettino came in, there was talks of Van Gaal, there was no expectations. But this time, when you've gone Ten Hag, Conte, Poch, and then you've gone so far left field,
confidence levels.
It's just like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? With those other 2 managers,
and that's the frustration.
It's massively underwhelming, however you look at it. I mean, even if we back him, and we want him to do well, but it's massively underwhelming.
So just when you look at this particular manager,
Mr. K, one point. I just wanted to raise a quick point. What I would say is, if we maybe have been associated with Fonseca before all the others, I think it may have gone down a little bit better. The
hell of a lot.
It would have been, at least we'd have thought about it. What happens is it's kind of like he's almost last on the list, and it's like we've been linked with, as I said, if you're linked with Conte and Poch, and we know about Poch, we know where he is now, then it's going to be a bit of a damp squib when you then say, oh well, we're now going to think about Fonseca. However, what I would say is Paratici has almost categorically said that this is his first choice as a manager. Whether or not that is definite, I don't know. Whether that's because he's got a budget to work to, I don't know. But he's categorically said that's the person he wants. And the club have kind of said, okay, we'll back you on this one. What's your thoughts on that?
The thing that annoys me with that, Sam, is why didn't he go get him for Juventus rather than Pirlo?
Yeah.
Couldn't have been his first choice because he could have had him at Juve. And there's a manager at Roma, if Juve comes, regardless, you're going. So I think it's the first... It's like we said, from what I heard when we signed Vinicius, it was Jose's top target within the budget that Levy had given him. It wasn't his number 1 target, but it was a striker he wanted within the remit of what we could spend. And I think this is what Paratici's done. Yes, he's my first choice manager for a manager that will come in for 2.5 million, won't kick off a fuss. So I don't think it's his first choice at all. I just think it's his first choice in the bracket and the remit he's been given.
Yeah. The thing is, even if we didn't go for Conte, Poch, or Ten Hag, whoever it might have been, it's still not. You still can't get away from the fact. If we went for Fonseca as the first manager, or he was the first one on our list, it's still massively. When you go from Mourinho to Fonseca, it's still massively underwhelming. And regardless if he was our first choice right at the start, you're going from a serial winner to a nobody, and it's just.
Is it not the style of play that we're trying to match though? Because this is what I'm very adamant that the philosophy has to be matched to what the club wants to do.
Yeah. But Sam, I bet you had no idea what his style of play or his career or
I didn't know much about. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know much about it.
Exactly, and that was a frustration. He was We've all had to Google him, and that just underlines the
It's like going back to school and doing research, isn't it?
I totally agree. Sorry, Mr. K, go on.
Look, a lot of people didn't know about Poch's style. They may have seen him in the Premier League, but they didn't know much more about him. Okay, so the way I look at it is that we've got a manager coming in. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm just so fed up of waiting or whatever else it is. I just want a manager to come in. Now, from what I've heard so far, especially from Roma fans who've tweeted me and stuff, they've turned around. They're saying, listen, this guy is absolutely gold. So the way we felt about Poch, this is the same way that Roma fans feel about this particular guy. From what I've heard also is that the players feel in a good way about him too. So he's definitely the type of person that's going to win the fans and the players over. And it seems to me like it's perfect for Levy. £2.5 million. Make the fans a little bit happy. I think he can do this without us hitting top.
He'll only win the fans over. He'll only win the fans over, Mr. K, if he starts winning. If he loses, say 3 out of the first 5 games, there's no way he's winning the fans over, mate. Unfortunately for him, there would have been definitely more of a chance with Poch, and Conte might have been given a bit of a leeway as well. But Fonseca, unfortunately, he's not going to be in a position where he can have a bad start. That's really unfortunate. And I don't believe that should be the case. But trust me, if he loses 3 or 4 games out of his first 6 or 7,
he's going to be under pressure.
He's going to be up his. Yeah.
And this is where the pre-season is absolutely massive for us. He's got to hit the ground running. In fact, what you would hope is if Paratici is the one that's brought him in, etc., that they've already had a conversation and been like, right, here's the first 5 players that we've got to get out of this club, get as much money as we can. And then these are the targets that we need to bring in to sort of, because with Fonseca coming in, it's a rebuild. It just stinks of a rebuild. There's no other reason you'd bring someone like him in unless it was for that matter of rebuilding.
So
the other thing as well with to close. The other thing with what Mike said, going on with that, if we've been linked with Paratici for so long and then it got done and he was working outside the club and now Fonseca. Surely the club should be if it's 99% done, then surely the club should now start going for the targets that Fonseca wants. So when it comes to pre-season, I mean, I've said any deal that's 99% done means nothing when it comes to Tottenham because that 1% is Levy.
Yeah.
And that's so. I mean, we need to start buying players now so they're ready for pre-season.
Would you say we need to buy or you need to sell? What would be the first one?
Sell first. Get Dele Alli, Eric Dyer. Out
get the budget up. Yeah, get the budget up.
You've got to remember as well, if we want Sabitzer and people like that, we've got to get some internationals off the. All right, so Gazaniga's gone, but we need Sissoko gone. We need Aurier gone. If we want to even think about getting people like Sabitzer, we need to get some more foreigners off.
Yeah. I am going to move us on because that is another show that we could do regarding the transfers of the summer. But what I want to move on to is the next thing that was part of.
This is to Brian as well.
This was sorry, wrong graphic there. Personal criticism. I think this was based on a number of emails that Mr. Daigle had been sending to him. So personal criticism. I get lots of personal criticism. Probably he had in brackets Brian Daigle. And one of the reasons is that I'm the type of individual who likes to do things in private. I don't like to criticize other people in a public way. And if I did, then I would be protecting my own name. But I want to protect the club and I want to behave with dignity. At this moment in time, I'm not going to change the way I am. And I want to do things in private. Mr. Daigle, there's no person better to start off than you on this one. Did you send him enough emails that he had to come out and say this about you? Really?
Believe me, every time I rant, he gets one. But I'm no just start. I'm just going to start and stick on to one word, which is dignity. Is dignity doing a Super League when you're telling all the fans you're not going to do it? Is dignity sacking a manager 6 days before a final? Is Dignity charging £60 for fans to go back into the game, the highest in the league? Is Dignity saying that the players will do a lap of honour, and then all that charade that came out? Is Dignity saying that we'll have a manager by the end of the season, then within 10 days, then the beginning of the Euros? Is Dignity having when the Liverpool game for the first game of the season at the new stadium was called off, you apologised to the NFL first and then refunded the Spurs fans all their money, but charged them more to go and watch it at Wembley? This guy...
Martin Job.
That's just... Oh, yeah. And then, of course, let's bring out the one that got me at Levy out. Martin Jol sacking someone at half-time. Thank you for that hay fever sneeze kind of
it's okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
This guy, honestly, personal criticism. He hasn't heard half of it. This guy, everything that comes his way, he likes to do things in private, apart from link us with 3 managers to get your season ticket sales in. Do you know what? I think he says something, and then if he doesn't go back on it within 24 hours, he dies. Because all he does is say one thing and does the other. He is an absolute... He's pathetic. Why? The last time he did an interview like this was after our final game at White Hart Lane, when we finished second after beating Man U, where he when he gave the keys to the builders. Why do builders that are knocking a building down need the keys? They don't. Let's just go in front of the PR. Let's just go, oh, hey, yeah, the Tottenham are going play. Lies. This guy, every single bit of criticism he gets, mainly from me, I'm very, very happy to announce it, he totally and utterly deserves. And believe me, the longer he's here, the worse it's going to get. The worse it's going to get. Everything that comes his way, he deserves. That part really, really, really riled me.
Bob, what was your thoughts on that part of the interview?
Yeah, I mean, it's all of it's a load of crap, isn't it? Let's be honest. You know, it's trying to cover face. He's obviously feeling a bit of the heat from the fans, and he's just trying to say the right words. Unfortunately, we've been let down so many times, Sam, with regards to empty promises, the lack of ambition. Yes, investment, but the wrong investment, not taking advantage of basically our stance and our muscle where we've finishing. It's all empty promises right now. For me, like Brian says, he needs to put this. It's all words at the moment. You know, bringing in a Paramichimichanga is all very well, but then back it up by bringing in players, targeting players, going for it. Go and get us a bit, sir. Go and get an Anderson.
So I think we have to then look at the timing, because, as I said, the criticism, yeah, he's very obviously going to defend himself. He's not going to come out and say, yeah, you know what, I effed up there, I did that. That's not going to happen. That's not the sort of character he is. But is he to blame for everything that's gone wrong with Spurs? Mr. K, is he to blame for everything?
Well, the way I look at it is, I think to a certain degree, let's just take a breather for a second and let's ask ourselves a simple question. What is Juventus a small club? If the answer is no, it's not a small club, then we happen to have picked up its director of football. So if we're looking for a director of football, forget about all the Santa Claus and the people that we can wish with a magic wand like her. This particular person comes from a reputable club. So if he does come in there, then he may not be the first or the second, maybe even the third on the list, but he definitely fills our bill in terms of where we are in terms of currently the Premier League.
It doesn't though. That's the thing. It doesn't though, Mr. K. That's the thing. No, of course not, mate. Because you can't compare. You can't compare.
He comes from a crappy. I mean, how long was he at Juventus? If he was,
but we don't work like Juventus, though, do we? We don't work like you. It's like the Jose thing again. What's the point of bringing Jose in?
From Roma?
Sorry?
No, I get your point. Listen, I get your point. Me personally, Luis Campos all day long, because the way Levy is, he wants them for free or peanuts all the time. And, obviously with Luis Campos, you're going to get that. With other types of people like Tin Hag coming along with his network of being able to get people in as well at that, that between that 5 to 15 million pound range is perfect for Levy. So you're right in your analysis where you think to yourself, you know what, these type of people, they can work alongside Levy because they can bring value. With this particular guy, we don't know. All he seems to be is someone that smiles a lot and has a perfect way to see it and become like a shield. But
we know how.
When it comes to personal criticism of Levy, the number one thing is you've got to turn around to yourself and say, well, Alistair Gold started to throw things shade at Levy because Hitchin's job was being threatened. Alistair Gold said, listen, this guy is incredibly popular. He shouldn't be sacked. I mean, he shouldn't be got rid of. But the problem is his position became untenable when you did this particular recruitment. So the way I look at it, if you want to do criticism, right, yeah, the way I look at it is that Gold in the follow-up to this started saying that Levy is a very personal guy. He's deeply devoted. And then literally the same time this video comes out from Levy. It's almost like behind the scenes, they've made a deal to say, listen, Hitchin, we won't get rid of you. We'll keep you around the club because you're very popular. Don't worry. But this is going to be an unsettling position, right, for the next 6 months when Paratici tries to do his job, he's going to have that bloke behind him constantly, watching what he does and how he does it.
But what I'm saying, you're spot on to literally going to be two seconds, but you're spot on, Mike, Mr. K, with regards to we don't know what this guy going to do. We can see what he's done at Juventus, but for me, and again, I'll say the same thing with managers as well. It's up to Levy. We know how Levy works, and until he changes, again, for me, like I was Mason in, I'd say Hitchin in. There's no point getting on it. Anyone else? This guy in a slick suit with nice hair, smelling of what is a Duke?
Paco Rabanne.
Paco Rabanne. All very well bringing him in, but if Levy's gonna hold his ground, then we're looking at another Paul Mitchell. We're looking at another Hitchin. So for me, it's the eyes aren't on Paratucci Migiano. It's purely on Levy. How much time do we give? Because this is the first transfer. First transfer, Sam. First transfer will say everything, mate. Whoever we bring in.
Absolutely spot on.
We've been calling for this. We've been calling for this for a long time. I certainly wanted the director of football, but it's almost at the point where we're underwhelmed by the appointment of Paratici. We're underwhelmed by the potential signing of Fonseca. But these are the things that we've wanted. So whether or not, again, when Jose was appointed, I was like, I'm not sure about this. But I jumped on board with it because Jose, serial winner,
and we back him.
Won everywhere we went. So you've got to back the manager. You have to back him. And it's the same thing here. We have to back this guy, but we don't know some of the restraints, the constraints that he's going to have initially. Because, and I'll come to that, and the reason I'm saying that is, and it's going to come to the last point in terms of, let me just get this banner off, in terms of the final message, because the final message what Daniel was talking about, and there's two slides.
You're on a first name basis with him, are you?
Yeah, mate, Daniel. Look at Daniel boy.
You lot just leave me alone. My hay fever is bad today, so leave me alone. I'm going to read this out. There's two slides on this one. Final message. Firstly, we have a financial fair play, and we've always been a club that has been able to finance everything from within its own means, said the chairman. Everything I've worked for in the past 20 years in this club, in 20 years, we've invested approximately 1.4 or 1.5 billion into capital assets. At the same time, we've over that period progressed on the pitch, perhaps not as much as we would have all liked. I've often read in the media about some of our fans criticising that we don't care about the club, we just care about money. And the last point on this was, what I say to them is that every single penny that goes into the club, whatever the revenue source is, whether that is purely football or third-party events like conferencing or
absolute lies. Absolute lies.
Let me finish, Mr. K. Let me finish. It's all going back into the team. Every single penny that comes into the club will go back into the team. All we want now, having spent all these years getting the infrastructure at this club in the most fantastic position, is to invest in the team. And we can already hear that there's utter crap, it's utter nonsense. But as I said to you before, this is not going to be something he's going to come out and say, you know what, I didn't spend this because it was more of a propaganda type interview. Yeah. So what's your thoughts in terms of the financial? Because that was a little bit worrying to me in that sense. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, he's just saying he's just saying the right things, isn't he? I think from that message you can clearly see that we have to sell in order to buy. It doesn't take rocket science to work that one out. And I think, from that, the players that we all believe should be removed because they are dead wood or they're sort of rotten apples as such. I think if we got rid of them, we can command a fair price for them, which will in turn raise funds. But again, it comes to that $1 million question: is if we raise 100 million from the sale of, I don't know, say argument's sake, 6 or 7 players, will that money be 100% reinvested into the squad? Because essentially that's what would have to happen. But again, it's that $1 million question. It depends on what you believe. Do you believe that Levy will sort of reimburse those funds to go into the squad, or will he rely on the fact that there's some youngsters that can come up through the academy into the first team, and we need to bleed them? Again, I go back to the point of pre-season. I think pre-season is going to tell you.
Let me put a question out there. If we sold Harry Kane for 150 million, do you think we'd spend 150 million with that money?
No.
Or
absolutely not.
The thing is, though, we'd have to, because where else are we going to buy 30 goals a season? You're just not going to.
So Mike, let me put it this way. What will happen? First of all, we can try and sell the deadwood, but what we've done is we've put them on such big wages. If that new club don't offer them the same money, they're not going. They'll just stay on the same wage, like what Danny Rose did when he had a chance. The thing is, as well, what this prick has said is every single penny we get is invested back into the club. Well, why did we get a Benjamin Stambouli instead of a Skriniar? Instead of a Schneidlin or a Wanyama? Why didn't we get a Skriniar? Why didn't we get a Dybala? If 14 million was his image rights and 14 million has come into the club, why didn't you pay it? With all these players that have come in, exactly. If it's money that's come into the club and you're not investing your money, why don't you just go and spend it? No, because we have to buy quantity, not quality. So everything we do, we have spent whatever he says, but we spent it on rubbish. Believe me, if I wanted to go into business and I said, how can I get my business projections to reach this target and I can get this, I'll go to Daniel Levy straight away. So if I want to find a football player, I wouldn't go anywhere near the bastard.
So is it that we've made mistakes then? Because like I said, what you just said there, he has spent the money, but we've not spent it wisely. The Bale money, for instance, was not spent.
You've got to remember, this has happened for 20 years. And if you're a great businessman and you have someone like Paul Mitchell who is bringing in great players, great talent, and he goes, go get this guy, go get this guy, go get this guy, and you don't, and then you buy crap, and then this happens, we get Clinton NG and George, Kevin and Kudu, which I tell you now, Paul Mitchell didn't say. He wanted Sadio Mane, but we won't spend that money, we'll get those two.
He wants money,
if a person comes in and says, this is what I want to do, this is where the club is going, that's what you got to do. And it's just, when he says financial fair play, Joe Lewis has made 388 million during this pandemic. If there's any club right now after this pandemic that is in the best position to spend money because of the way we have been, is us.
100%.
We have got money to burn because we don't
We've
spend.
never come close to financial fair play. Tottenham, the word Tottenham and the word financial fair play have never been in the same sentence for the last, I don't know, since his conception. I don't know where this crap came out of Levy's backside right here. Number one, right here, he's talking absolute rubbish. Because when you look under the Poch era, right, the type of spending that was done, we were selling like 95 million pounds worth of players. We were buying like 110 million pounds worth of players. We were only investing 15 million pounds for that whole year. That 15 million pounds came from where? 4 years of being in the Champions League. Is that all we could afford? Look, this is absolute utter lies. I'm really shocked that people don't know how to add up figures. Just go on transfer.com and transfer market. They'll show you the figures. You can work
so does that mean then that the stadiums come for free? And again, I'm not going into the finances because I don't know all the financial details.
No,
surely, hold on one second. If you're going to sell a certain amount of players and you do want to get yourself a brand new house, let's say, which we have got, you're not going to spend all your money that you make from something else if you want to buy this brand. All I'm saying is we may have had to business. It's business. Joe Lewis is not going to spend his own money. If you're in a business, unless you're doing a Roman Abramovich, you're not just going to say, you know what, I'm going to chuck in 200 million every single season. Not going to happen. That is the reason why they're billion. That's the why they're billionaires. Do you know what I'm saying?
They're not going to do that,
but they're a completely different case. He's come out and said he wants to do his playground.
No, sorry, mate. I didn't mean to cut in there. But no, you're right. They're not going to do that. But they're also not going to do is let's spend all our money on a stadium and leave F all for the players. They've got the loan or the mortgage per se against the stadium, and it's been paid back over a number of years, and it's based on affordability. They would have been given a bit of leeway over the pandemic as well, like every other person in the world. it's not like the revenue's not going to come in. It's guaranteed revenue that's going to come in as well. So it's not a case of, when he says it's not, we can't get it back. We can get it back. It will just going to be 2 or 3 months down the line, or a few months. But for me, the biggest thing is, it is long term, mate. But the thing is, the biggest thing for me is he has invested. I've never said that, and Mike, I've always said this as well. He has invested, but he's never gone that extra mile to go. And for a right business head, right players will mean, for me, a better team on the pitch will mean success, more success, which will mean more revenue. So it's all very well looking at the 2 billion, valuation at the moment and saying, 22 million purchases now to become 2 billion. If it invested right, if it invested like with a proper business acumen, and that's what he falls back on, then that 2 billion would have been 4 billion. And for me, that's crap. That's crap business. An extra 30, 40 million for the likes of Grealish, for the likes of Skriniar, for the likes of Dybala, for a Cavani, I was checking out the other day. An extra 40 million pounds combined on top of what they were offering, we could have had all these players in. And if you're telling me we could have been a bit more successful on the pitch and bringing in revenue who would dwarf that 40 million that they would have brought in, a successful Champions League run brings you double that. So, no, I think him being a good businessman is a complete myth, because if he'd invested properly, that 2 billion would have been. I'm not going to exaggerate.
Do you blame all that on Levy, though? Do you not think
probably not, mate? Probably no. We're talking about Enoch. We're talking about Enoch, aren't we? No, we're talking about Enoch. I'll tell
you what I do blame on Levy is when Eriksen was going. When Christian Eriksen was going, and you knew he was coming, and Bruno Fernandes was there. Why do we have to be a team that has to wait till the player leaves to replace him? We haven't replaced the original Dembele. We haven't replaced Vertonghen. Why didn't we get Fernandes in and then get rid of Christian? And by the way, Christian, hope you get well soon. Road to recovery.
100%. Very good. Well,
with him coming in, we knew he was going. We knew his contract was running down. Fernandes wanted to come to Spurs. He said it. He even said it. Look what he's doing at United. Why did we not just go out and get him? Would have made the money back for him instantly, or well and truly by now, and then we would have got Eriksen out. Why do we have to wait? And it's like what I've said with Levy as well. I hate hearing this thing that I only hear at Tottenham, resale value. I don't care what we resell them for. Literally, why is the first thing we're thinking of before we've even signed them? Or if it doesn't work, how much can I sell them for? That's because you're buying lumps of coal. Go buy a player that you know will come in, not guaranteed to do a job, but buy an established player. Don't keep trying to think they're Dele Allis that you can just keep churning out time after time after time. These players were genuinely interested, and Bob said, would have turned the money.
What about you look at the model, and I look at it, and this is the Premiership. Someone like Leicester, who don't go out and buy hundreds of millions of pounds worth of players,
scout,
but that's my point. That's my point. It's about the scouting. The mistakes have been made clearly. Money's been put in. We're getting it wrong in the scouting department. Now, if Mr. Paratici comes in and sorts that out alongside this manager and gets left to do the right thing, we might see some players come in that we're thinking, hold on a minute, that's not that 50 million player that we want. That's not the Virgil van Dijk sign that we want. But if we are looking at smart investment, which we need to do because we're not going to be spending that sort of money, we need to look at the likes of Leicester City. Those are the sort of scouting networks that need to be done. There's a blueprint.
There's tons of those type of investments that you could make. There's tons of those type of players out there that could come in at an affordable cost and would significantly improve Tottenham Hotspur. But again, you just hit the nail on the head. It's the scouting. It's our scouting network. And although Levy is obviously ultimately held accountable for the players that we sort of buy, sell, loan, etc., I can't help but think and look at Hitchin, and if Paratici has come in, then why for me, if I was the director of football, I'd get rid of Hitchin. I'd bring in my own man, because you can't tell me that Paratici hasn't got his own scouting network at Juventus that he could sort of surely be able to have a word with him and say, look, come across here, this is a new project, sort of sell that dream, as we call it, to his scouts. and get rid of Hitchin, because when you look at in the grand scheme of things of the players that Hitchin's brought in, 90% of them are probably not good enough. So for me, if Paratici, well, he is coming in, but for me, the first thing I'd be looking at is Hitchin, and regardless of whether he's popular, just because someone's popular doesn't mean to say they're good for the club. And as I say, I'd get rid of Hitchin. I don't think his acquisitions and the players that he's recommended and brought in have been good enough. Do
you think there's going to be more changes in the scouting department?
Has to be. There has to be. There's something fundamentally wrong with our scouting network, because since Paul Mitchell's left, just look at the talent like we've been bringing in. It's just not good enough. Where we want to be.
Look, you mentioned Leicester as well. What happens with Leicester is Leicester say, listen, chairman, I need 10 million, 20 million, 30 million for this player. Okay, there you go, done. Because they had 3 years of constant proof that they know what they're doing. When we have that, we had Paul Mitchell, oh, I need this, no. Oh, I need this, no. Get a cheaper option. Every single target Leicester want, they go and get. They are 3 years ahead of us and pretty much every other team, because they're looking into the future to spot these gems. And they have got a proven track record, so the chairman backs them. And also, this chairman will spend money. As soon as they've got a proven track record, it's like, okay, I'm going to trust you. Off you go, off you go. They sell Maguire for 90 million. They sell Mahrez for God knows how much. Whereas when Paul Mitchell said, right, I need this, and he could see the talent he was bringing in, no, find me a cheaper option. And that's the difference.
But that's the same with Hitchin as well. You know,
exactly.
He brought players to the fore, and Levy and Enoch turned them down. But I'd say something. But you know, the likes of Reguilon, Højbjerg, Ndombele, and Bale, Bergwijn, I'd still want to give a bit of a chance to. These aren't bad players. You know, there's some players that have worked out.
I think Hitchin may have only brought a couple of those in. I mean, Bale, everyone knows about Bale. Reguilon, I think they've just stumbled across a player by accident, and I think there's potential in him. I think he can become a great player, although he's had a bad second half of the season. But Bergwijn, I mean, the jury's out on him. But again, like you say, Bob, give him a chance. Under a different manager.
I mean, I had him on the new right wing back under Conte. So,
well, he didn't hear.
What I want to do is we're going to be wrapping up now, but I want to get your final thoughts each on the actual interview itself. I know we have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt because of it was not one that was done in the public domain in terms of somebody coming in from the outside. But I'll go around all of you. Mike, what's your final thoughts on what this summer would bring based on what Daniel Levy said?
Where do I begin with it? I'm going to keep it short, try and keep it short and sweet here. I think Levy, first and foremost, he's just said what he thinks is going to put him in a good light. He's just said the right things just to try and appease fans, but I think most of us can probably see all through that. In terms of from what he's saying and how the summer's going to look for us, I'm praying that we do business early doors as soon as Fonseca's in. I'm praying we're doing business now. We just don't know about it, but I just hope it's not going to be all too late. And it's all going to be lastminute.com, which we are known for. If that's happens,
got to change. That's got to change.
It's just not going to give Fonseca. It's not going to give him a fighting chance. If it's all last minute, then I worry how the start of the season is going to look for us. And if that happens, Fonseca's going to be under pressure, which I think would be unfair on him because he's coming into a bit of a firing line here, isn't he? It's all against him in many sense. And I pray, because I don't want him to be unsuccessful. I actually do want him to be successful.
I want
him to bring back our identity as a club, the attacking football that we all like to see, that we've all been used to over the years. I want to see him do good business and bring in good players that will improve our squad. I want him to get rid of all these dead apples. These, like Serge Aurier, he said he wants to leave. Get rid of him. Find a club.
He should be gone by now.
Gone. I'd have got rid of him. 20. What can we get for him? 15, 20 million? Realistically, 20 if we're lucky. If we're lucky, 27.
We might get something like that. I don't think we're going to get 20.
Drive him to the airport. I would drive him to any airport free of charge and be like, no, I can't either. But these are the sort of players I just want to see. Like, if he comes in, if Paratici's already working, there's 5 players off the top of our heads we could all literally name right now and be like, get them out of the club. They're the first 5 realistically that we can get out. We get them out, bring the new players in, and give Fonseca a fighting chance to be successful in the job. Otherwise, I can only see this ending one way, and it won't be positive.
Mr. K, I'm going to get your final thoughts.
The interview itself, just very quickly, what Mike was saying. Fonseca. He coaches his players to be comfortable on the ball in any given situation. He trains them that way. He coaches them specifically that way to become comfortable. And if there's anything that we want from our Spurs team going to the future, is we want them not to Spursy things up when they've got the ball, not to get so nervous they're going to pass it back and, invite trouble. So being comfortable on the ball is definitely a bonus as far as I'm concerned from this coach. But going back to the interview itself, it looked like Palpatine was being interviewed, by some A-list Hollywood style film production, because the shadows in the background, the light reflecting off his bald scalp, it was absolutely perfect. The way he speaks is almost like he's got a rod going through his mouth, but without, it's almost Trump-esque, I would say. That it goes all the way through, most likely. He's showing the reason why he doesn't want to put his face forward, because the more you see of that face, the more you want to pull your eyeballs out and squish them and throw them away. You don't want to see him again. But yeah, I was not entertained by his video one little bit. But I am entertained by the thousands of Spurs fans out there that seem to absolutely love his sweat.
Brian, I'll come to you. I know where we're going with this one, but did you like the interview?
So, like I said, first of all, I've spent 14 years telling the world what an idiot and a buffoon this man is. And then he dropped this video, and I literally, the first thing that came into my head was the Mariah Carey song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, because he keeps dropping gifts to me, and this came out. Now, the interview is a sham. It's a PR stunt. He only comes out when he wants. Hopefully he's in a rock under the rock he comes from. And I'll tell you what's going to happen right now. And I know Danny Kiriakou is in the chat, and he'll leave a comment after I've done it. If anyone thinks that we're going to get business done early, forget it. If anyone thinks we're going to get actual quality replacements, but we might get us a Sabitzer, but if you think we're getting in 3 or 4 quality people in, you're mistaken. If you think he's going to stick to anything he said in that interview, you're mistaken. It's all PR nonsense, and he only comes out when he wants. And like I said, we need players in now. Pre-season's quite soon after the Euros. People are in the Euros, then they're on holiday. People aren't going to be match fit when they come back. We're not going to have able replacements. Every single word that comes out of his mouth is a goddamn lie. And anyone that swallows it, just please come back to me so I can say I told you so. And Danny.
Mr. Levy, look out for another email tomorrow.
Oh, coming his way. I'm
sure it'll be on its way very soon. Bob, final thoughts.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's we've heard it all before. Well, we haven't heard it all, but we've seen the actions, and like I say, it's all about seeing his actions. The first transfer we bring in is going to say a lot about the way we go in, the direction we go in. And it's all the reason. It's quite evident the reason he's brought a paramedic Tock in is to deflect all the attention off him and say, look, all the footballing decisions are in his hands. So if we mess up, it's his fault. Again, you can bring a paramedic in or whoever you want in. If the board aren't going to be ambitious, if the board aren't going to want to move forward like we all do, then it's irrelevant. Hitching in, put bloody Kermit the Frog in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all down to the board's identity, ambition, direction. I've been saying that for God knows how long.
It's a big summer. It's definitely a massive summer. Go on, Mike.
Just touching on that, Bob. Do you not think that's the director of football's duty to now implement everything you just said? Like the board, in theory, that board should now move aside, and it should 100%. Be Paratici as the director of football.
And that's the question, isn't it, Mike? That's the question. Will they move aside? That's the only question. I believe. I want Paramaguga doing very well. I want the manager doing well. What's the matter? But
no, I just want to ask Sam. I want to ask Sam.
Yes.
Once this stream is finished, can you please put something together? Just a snippet of every time Bob has tried to say his name and released it, because that is comedy gold. That's all I wanted to say.
It's too many of them. It's far too many. I'll be here all day.
It's all down to the ball. But you're right, Mike. You're right, mate.
What I will say, it's going to be a big summer. It's a massive summer. We've got so many changes going on at the club. The steps are, I would say, the right steps are being made. Whether or not they're in the right direction is another story. But we're going to have to wait and see. This whole, why he hasn't been signed yet, I don't know. And I want to see this guy. He's in place. As Mike was saying, we need to get things sorted out now. We can't not have a manager and say it's 99% done and this 1% is taking all this time. This needs to be announced.
Why? What's the point of even saying that? It's 97% over the line. Why is that? How's that even come out? Just don't say nothing until it's 100%.
Exactly.
Listen, Mike, I'll put a bet on with you. How many more breaking news? Fonseca is 99%. He's close to doing it. Oh, he's on a flight, or he's. I think there's another 8 or 9 tweets from Romano, from Gold, from Tottenham.
Only 8 or 9.
Yeah,
it's going to be very interesting.
Who wants to bet that he's not going to become the next manager? I've got a funny feeling.
I'm with you.
He's not going to be the next manager. I've got a funny feeling it's not him.
I did say this on our last stream, actually. I was like, every stream we've done on a Saturday, it's ended up being someone else. But the problem for us now is any targets we've got are probably playing in the Euros right now. So, you look at Sabitzer. He was valued at 15 million. After this Euros, for the performances that he's putting in, because he played well the other night, it's probably going to double. So we're going to be out of the race for Sabitzer, because he's going to probably be worth about 30 million after this tournament, and we're not going to pay 30 million.
And Champions League football, we don't have Champions League football.
And this is where we're going to make sure, or where we're going to have to ensure that we are smart in this business side of things. Guys, I really would love to continue, but my heat wave is killing me. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Thank you all for watching. These guys have been fantastic today. It's been an absolute pleasure on this stream to get all these thoughts and all these opinions. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. Again, if you can, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to us, and we'll be on again soon. Mike, Mr. K, Brian, and Bob, thank you very much. Gentlemen,
leave out.
We're out with...
Leave you out.
See you later, guys.